right, there it is, the NFL music. Why not on a Monday? We're talking all things NFL. Manchild Show with Boyd Green Digital. For those of you jumping into the room, well, welcome aboard. It's great to have you here. It's our live Monday show, and if you look to my right, it's not Paul Esden Jr. I guess a little too much partying, dare I say, at that Jets tailgate for Paul yesterday. So filling in today for Paul is the one, the only Matt Lombardo. You see him every week doing our NFL picks on Fridays. And if you haven't been, well, you got to get plugged in, because as bad as we've been, it's still a very entertaining bit. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
Good morning, Jim. Probably better than you guys. I saw the steak dinner on Saturday night in the private room. I saw the tailgate party with the RV and everything on the grill and all the libations that were flowing. Probably holding up a little bit better than you guys are after that event in the swamps of Jersey this weekend.
Yeah. I did not make the VIP party the night before. I was invited, but I have family down in New York, so decided to use a little bit of my time outside of the game, checking in with some family. And then my son attended the tailgate with me, and we were up at about 6 a.m. We got to the Meadowlands at about 8:15. The lots open at 8. Matt, I'm telling you, okay, so I'm not a big tailgater over the years, in all honesty. I mean, number one, most of the time I'm working when I'm at games, you know.
Sure.
And when I go as a fan, I'm not showing up 4 hours before. I mean, you know, I got other things to do with my life, I guess. I'm just not a crazy tailgater for whatever that is. I know there are people out there that love it, and I'm not knocking you if you do. It's just never been really my thing. And I not really want to go to a game drunk as a skunk or out of my mind, or, you know, my belly completely and utterly busting at the seams kind of thing. That's something I'd like to do after a game, not, you know, or maybe during a game, but not before the game, because I like to enjoy the game. But we got there at 8:15 in the morning. And when I got there, I figured, man, you know, some people will be there kind of setting up, you know, whoever the big deal people are. We had a whole food set up. Chef Kevin Gilbride was incredible. Okay.
But he's tremendous. When I used to cover the Eagles.
Gilbert, I called him Gilbride. I'm like, NFL names. Kevin Gilbert. He was great. And we had a DJ that was there, and I wish I could remember the DJ's name, but Paul will mention it in our next live broadcast for sure. I'm sorry I don't know the DJ's name. But we had music. It was coming out of this unbelievable Mercedes Sprinter, Matt, that if you had sat in, you would have been like, okay, I just died and went to heaven. Let me just hang here. It had a video screen in the back of the Sprinter. It had video screens inside the Sprinter. It had LED lighting and like fully reclinable seats 10. All right. And this is one of Boyd Green's crazy Jet fan guys, Ed. Or Lou, I'm sorry, Lou B is his name.
I was going to say, was Fireman Ed there? And I will say this about Kevin.
Lou B, and Lou had like a permanent nameplate on his Jets Namath jersey. I think he was wearing Namath on his Jets jersey. Lou B, I mean, sewn in. I mean, this guy is buttoned up, but he has an unbelievable Mercedes Sprinter. Apparently, he used to work for Mercedes. I got a little of the backstory. And this thing can, you can do anything. He let me come in there. I was watching the 9:00 tea and crumpets game, you know, the London game on my phone, while I was throwing down a couple of early beers and having some, preliminary food. And Lou's like, why don't you come on in? I've got the game on in here. And he put me in the Sprinter with my son, shut the doors. And we had like a giant flat screen in front of us, LED lighting, all different colors flashing around us. And we're in these super comfortable high back seats, and he's cranking it up. We've got stereo speakers, surround sound in this thing. I was like, oh my God, I'd never want to leave this thing. I mean, this is like the ultimate NFL fan vehicle. Absolutely, positively cool. So the whole thing was quite the show. And the party was great. The food was great. The people were great. It was awesome meeting all these Jets nuts that all follow Boyd Green's channel, and some of them have even migrated over to our channel, The Manchild Show with Boyd Green Digital, and have become subscribers here. So we thank you for that. A lot of people were very nice to me, recognized me, and pulled me aside and said, "Oh, I love your work. I love what you and Paul are doing together. It's really different than his show. I really appreciate it." Yada yada yada. So I got into some nice conversations with some of these folks. But I'm telling you, I mean, Matt, the game, the stadium's great. The anthem was phenomenal. The fireworks were great. The team introductions off the rack. I mean, these NFL teams do an incredible job pregame of getting it ready, getting everybody hyped up for a football game. And then the football started. And man, I feel for Jets fans. And I know you can relate to this, Matt. I feel for Jets fans because as every great play followed up by a tragic mistake happened, I would just look down the aisle because we had 70 people at this game. I just looked down the aisle at all these real Jet fans. I mean, I'm a Giants fan wearing a Jets jersey, rooting for the Jets because I hate the Cowboys. But I'm looking down at people that bleed this. This is their life. This is why they're here, is to see their team get off the schneid here and get a win against the Cowboys. And every time something tragic happens, I'm looking down at them. I'm like, I feel so bad for these people. What is with the Jets? Are they cursed? I mean, is there something wrong? They're the only team in the NFL, Matt, you know this today, that doesn't have a win. They're 0-5. They're the only team in the NFL. Even the Titans, and we're going to get into that thing, all right? Even the Titans figured out a way to get a win, and there are no undefeated teams anymore. Everybody got knocked off. The Eagles got knocked off yesterday. The Bills got knocked off. No more undefeated teams. But there's one team that has a 0 in one of those two columns, and unfortunately, it's the New York Football Jets. Why don't we start there? Matt Lombardo, go ahead.
Yeah, and worse yet for the Jets, it's not just that they haven't pulled off a win. And you look at the schedule, the best opportunity was down in Miami against the Dolphins on a night where Tyreek Hill gets hurt. Jim, they built a defense. They built their roster, and they imported a culture from Detroit around a swarming defense. They've yet to create a turnover. They're the only team in the NFL that does not have a takeaway so far this year. And you just look at what happened yesterday. They made Dak Prescott look like an MVP candidate. He goes for 237, 4 touchdowns. And we saw a little bit of this the week prior on the Sunday night game, the 40-40 tie against the Green Bay Packers, where George Pickens became the playmaking, field-stretching wide receiver Dallas thought that they were getting when they traded with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he was phenomenal yesterday. And I know he only caught 2 catches, but 57 yards and a score, he's become, if not wide receiver 1, he's 1A when CeeDee Lamb gets back. Yeah. He has played his way into that role. And for the Jets, I'm just not quite sure where you go from here because, to allow 37 points at home, to not really generate any pressure of any magnitude against Dak Prescott. And I thought the offense functioned as well as you can expect, certainly against the Cowboys defense that doesn't have a pass rush to speak of since trading away Micah Parsons. They ran the ball pretty effectively. Breece Hall was a man possessed on the ground. Garrett Wilson had a nice game. And I thought that if you look at what Justin Fields did, you would take that. You would take that performance from Justin Fields, what you got out of him yesterday, but it was nowhere near enough against the Cowboys team that was kind of reeling at 1-2-1 going into yesterday. And now they're essentially a 500 team after making it look pretty easy against the Jets in their building.
Yeah. The one thing I would say about the Jets offense, and I agree with pretty much everything you said, Matt, is this. Yes, they are producing enough, generally speaking, to be able to win football games if their defense would just play respectable football. And I totally agree with you. The defense is the issue. But the one thing that does happen to the Jets on offense are the crucial turnovers, okay? Hall's having this great game. He gets loose on that one. He gets all the way down inside the 5-yard line. You think he might go. And he just doesn't quite get all the way to the end zone. Okay, good pursuit, good defense. And then he coughs it up. And then it flips the field, and then Dallas takes it right down, and you get this 14-point flip where you just you were in it.
2 weeks in a row. That's 2 weeks in a row that happened with Breece Hall.
Everything, the momentum, the building, the momentum for the Jets. The idea of we're not a tragedy waiting to happen. It just keeps happening. It's like a repeat. It's like rewind. You just keep hitting the rewind button. The same silly things happen to this team. It drives me crazy. I feel so bad for Jets fans that even with a new coach, with kind of a new attitude and I understand the Jets because I played for the Jets. I understand their plight. Aaron Glenn gets all of that, which is why I think he could be the guy to fix this. But then you go out and watch the team play, and they do that. They had a couple of critical turnovers. Okay. Justin Fields just holding on to the ball too long. We could have a whole conversation, Matt, that could last 15 minutes on that. I mean, 3 seconds and out, Justin. You can't escape everything. Because he was taking really what amounted to in this game sacks that didn't need to be taken, where that offensive line did a good enough job, more than adequate job, and they're going to get persecuted for not protecting him because look at the sacks. It's not true. It's him not protecting himself. It's him not getting the ball out and being willing to once in a while be a vet, dare I say. I mean, this guy's not a young guy anymore now. He's becoming a vet. You got to throw the ball away, all right? And the penalties, Matt. I thought the one thing that Aaron Glenn would bring to the Jets was more disciplined. I thought we'd see less penalties, and that has not happened. And that is not a good sign for the Aaron Glenn era. How do you fix that? I don't know how you fix that, because that's preached in practice. That's preached in the film rooms. That's preached in other places where it's ingrained in the heads of the players. And yet the players keep doing it to themselves over and over again. It just hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, Lerch, here's the problem. They're just not good enough. The personnel is not at the level where you can contend. And I don't know that they necessarily went out and tried to build much of a contender this offseason, at least via free agency. I think that there's still, you're kind of still taking the medicine of the Aaron Rodgers contract. That's still on the backlog. And they went out and they decided that they were going to get young. They were going to build a roster of players who were not over the age of 28. They were going to try to set the foundation with young players. And it seems like this is kind of the year where they take their medicine. They hope that the quarterbacks at the top of the draft class next April are advantageous enough that you can build around from a trait standpoint, because there really aren't any elite quarterback prospects jumping to the top of the board so far from a production standpoint in college. But, Cade Klubnik's, traits are what they are. Drew Aller has the traits of a Josh Allen. We can talk about the coaching. We can talk about the scheme. We can talk about his performance in an offense, but the traits are there. They need to get someone at quarterback who inspires the rest of the roster, and they have to build around them. It can't be Garrett Wilson and 3 fringe NFL receivers. It can't be 2 offensive tackles and 3 middling interior linemen. It can't be a defense with 1 or 2 good edge rushers and Sauce Gardner. It's just an incomplete roster that's light years away from contending. And this offseason is going to be pivotal for them, because they're going to have some cap space. They're going to be picking at the top of the draft. I think that next year is the year where you start to see them take those steps that you saw early in the Dan Campbell era, like you're seeing now with New England, with Mike Vrabel and with Drake May and the pieces that they added around him this offseason. The Patriots look like a team that I'm feeling very Washington Commanders-y about, like I felt at the beginning of last year, watching Jaden Daniels and watching the Commanders, thinking, hey, this is a team that can wreck someone's day in the postseason because they're playing with belief. They have a young quarterback. They have young pieces. That's what the Patriots are right now. That's what the Jets need to try to build their way into being this offseason, because they're just not at that level right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I thought they were at a better level than where they're at. I didn't expect them to be the only 0-5 team in football right now, because I thought that defense would hold up a bit. And I can't believe how poor it's played. I look at the personnel and I say they have good players, and yet it's not a good.
Do they though? Do they though? I mean, they have a good corner. Will Johnson's an edge rusher Will McDonald's an edge rusher who's really good. But who else? I mean, Quinn Williams is a terrific player.
He'd be great.
Sure, but not with the Jets.
I think he's a top flight corner. I mean, I think he's already shown that. I know he's still a young player, but I think he's a top corner. So we're
talking 3 players on an 11-man defense. You know what I'm saying? And it just seems like the players at the safety spot, you took a chance with a veteran, it didn't work out. The young kid isn't ready. It just seems like, from a personnel standpoint, there's a lot of pieces the Jets still need to try and find, and they just don't have them on the roster right now.
Yeah. Oy. Oh, I feel for the Jets. I feel for those Jets fans. And by the way, if you're tuning in late, folks, Boy Green and not with us today, it's because he's traveling back from the big party, and he had the whole family down there and everything. So he's got the kids. He's in the caravan. I was like, it's okay. You can miss a morning, Boy Green. It's not the end of the world. I'm sure he was up early doing his Jets show already this morning for all those rabid Jet fans. But, man, again, what a party was put on down at the Meadowlands. I want to thank anyone that's out there that watches this video or is in the room right now. For stopping by, for saying hello, for being part of it. It was an absolute blast. I really enjoyed it. I have not done a tailgate like that in a long time, and that was good stuff.
By the way, what did Chef Kevin whip up? Because I've talked to Boy Green about this on his Jet show on Sunday mornings. He used to be the executive chef of the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I covered the Eagles for NJ.com and the South Jersey Times, they used to have the media in the building. It's now the medium reporter's now in a house on property outside of the facility. But we used to be able to purchase lunch in the team cafeteria for $2. And I'm telling you, Lerch, between the mac and cheese, the around Thanksgiving time, the turkey dinner was the best turkey dinner I've tasted in my life.
Yeah.
Some of the barbecue, the food was just world class, second to none. It made me appreciate the training tables that these teams put together for their players, and certainly Chef Kevin's talent as a chef. It was just some of the best meals I've ever had. What was on the menu yesterday morning?
Yeah, there was actually a menu published way before the event, Matt, where I was already like salivating, like which one of these things are going to do. He had several different versions of a slider. So you get kind of that burger feel, but of course with a Chef Kevin kind of touch. I mean, he's got bacon on there. He's got like some kind of jam. He's got a jam on there. So yeah, there was like one that was like a barbecued one. One was a little more like straightforward, but Boy Green's like a plain Jane, so he wanted like a really straight up kind of burger he doesn't like condiments. And so
same with me. That's what I'd be eating.
So
yes.
Kevin did that, and that was fantastic too. He did a hot dog, but it wasn't just a hot dog because you put all this crazy stuff on it, including like some cool chili stuff. And I was like, oh my god! I mean, let me tell you something. Of all the people yesterday, I know that DJ worked very hard. I know Paul was running around like a chicken without a head because we were supposed to be in section D1. And when we arrived in parking lot D, we found out from D1 to D3 was closed. All right. So now you've told 70 people, for weeks, wow, we're going to be at D1, find it right on the pole, on the parking pole. That's where we're going to set up camp. That's where you want to come to, that's where we're going to have our event. And now we're all the way down at like D7. All right, which is in the same parking lot. But Matt, when you've got all these tailgaters, I don't even think I got to finish the story before I got so sidetracked. But when I arrived at 8:15, I could not believe how many people were in the lot already. I figured I was going to be one of, 50 people. Come on. It's 8:50.
Dude, amateur hour. I'm a Penn State season ticket holder. We've been up there once this year, but usually for a night game at Beaver Stadium, 110,000 people, 7 p.m. kickoff, my crew will get there at 7 a.m. and we'll be in line for the gates to open. And 7 a.m., 12 hours before the game, we're still waiting in line for the lots to open. So I think you underestimated the passion of true tailgate fans.
I don't underestimate. I just never have been part of the culture because I've been too busy covering games and not spending time at tailgates. But now I can do a little bit more of that. I'll probably go back. I mean, it was a blast. I had a blast, man. I can't imagine getting there at 7 for a night game, but 4 hours, 3.5 hours was enough for me. But it was, Kevin really, to me, Chef Kevin was the hardest worker person that day. There were a lot of people that worked hard, including Paul, trying to round up all those people and bring them to the correct spot, make sure they could actually find us. So instead of getting a chance to kind of sit back and relax and, have a beer and a burger and a dog, Paul was like, on the phone with people, texting people, posting stuff on social. We're at D6 instead of here because they would have never found us because that lot, like I said, Matt, it's filled up by 9. They closed, can't even get in. So thank God I got there early because I was thinking getting there 9:15 or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, well, I don't have to do setup.
You've been walking from the
from lot G, from halfway across the thing, right? You're absolutely right. So I was glad I got there early. Got a spot right next to our tailgate. Had all my stuff in my car available to me when I needed it. Was able to put my stuff right away. With my tent was right next to my car. It's fantastic. So smart planning by me, Matt. But I didn't realize what I was getting into. So, but Kevin worked his butt off. His wife was working alongside him too, or his girlfriend. I'm not sure if he's married or not. I think they're married. But she was, I could see her dripping in sweat. I was like, these people are just here to serve us. God bless them for being there. I know Kevin loves to cook, but how much enjoyment do you get when you got to like set up on the road, and then you're trying to do chef-like things on a griddle, you just don't, when you're in the kitchen, you've got all the tools and you know where everything is. You get it all outside, Matt. It's a whole different animal for a chef. And now you're putting yourself up to that standard of, I still got to cook things that people are going to like, oh, whoa, yeah. And he pulled it off. So kudos to Kevin. He was incredible. And kudos to his wife and anyone else that was over there helping him. The DJ, like I said, was fantastic as well. And she worked really, really hard as well. So kudos to all those people because we got to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and some of those people were working. That was work. Yeah. I've hosted parties before. Hosting is the least fun thing. All the prep and everything leading up to is great. when they get there, you don't watch any of the game because you're too busy hosting the party, right?
Right.
I've done Super Bowl parties over the years. I'm like, man, I ought to let someone else do this and go to the Super Bowl party. And then I started doing that in my later years. I was like, this is the way to go. Eat their food, sit in their chairs, enjoy their big screen TVs, and not have a worry in the world while they're running around getting everybody drinks. Forget it. Who needs it? But that was a great event. And I'm glad we did it. I just wish the result for the poor Jets fans was better because they just did not get a great effort out of their team. The turnovers were a disaster. The defense has continued to be just like a sieve. They're just leaking like a sieve. They don't stop anybody, especially when they need to. So I feel for the Jets, and they are now, unfortunately, the only 0-5 team in all of the NFL. So they have that distinction now to have to carry, they have that cross on their back. They're carrying that down the road. So, sorry, Jet fans. I'm really sorry. But I enjoyed your event, and thank you for having me. And I know Boy Green sends his regards as well. All right, let's get into some other things outside of the Jets. Disgustingly, my Giants up 14-3. Matt, I was just seeing the scores on the scoreboard, looking at my fantasy team saying, all right, man, Jaxson Dart. All right, we'll get that thing in New Orleans. At least we'll be 2-3. We still got a lot of games we're going to lose. I'm not, all that optimistic about our season. But, hey, 2-3 feels pretty good here at this point. And then apparently in the second half, when I wasn't watching and I was watching the Jets fumble the ball away, the Giants were doing the same thing. Jaxson Dart gave away 2 on picks. The Giant defense didn't play up to its standards, and they end up losing to the Saints and giving the Saints their first win of the year. So let's take that one next. What do you make of Dart's second appearance now? A little bit of back down to reality and where the Giants stand at this particular point.
Yeah, I thought that, it's kind of what we saw earlier this year with some quarterbacks, especially with Caleb Williams, within the first 15 scripted plays of Ben Johnson's offense, kind of that Jekyll and Hyde nature. Great early, struggles late. I saw that with Jaxson Dart yesterday, where you have a couple of nice drives where it seemed like his mobility threw open Brian Dable's playbook a little bit, really seemed to be building his confidence in Theo Johnson. And I've long believed that having a dominant pass catching tight end accelerates the development of a young quarterback because it's a high percentage throw. It's a guy that can be a security blanket. It's a guy who can get yards after the catch and all of those things. You had the 2 touchdowns early, and then the wheels came off, right? The pick was a bad interception, telegraphing the throw to Johnson, I believe it was. You knew it was coming from 10,000 miles away. Telegraphed the throw, it's picked off. Cam Scatterbo fumbles the ball along the goal line, and it's returned for a touchdown. But I think the biggest issue right now is they're just not good on third down. I mean, you can't go 3 for 10 on third down and expect to win on the road or even against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. 3 for 5 on fourth down. I love the aggressiveness going for it, but you got to be a little bit better than that. And it just seems like there are a lot of growing pains for Jaxson Dart, and it's going to become, can he show enough over the final 11 or 12 games to save Brian Dable's job? And I think that yesterday you look at some of the good and you think, okay, you can build on this, but you have to overcome some of these rookie mistakes. And we talk about the lack of personnel on the Jets roster. I'm not sure that the Giants, sans Malik Neighbors, without going out to trade for a dominant veteran wide receiver, I don't know that the horses are there to maximize Jaxson Dart to the point where he does improve, where he can show you enough. So it's going to be a really difficult stretch, I think, for the Giants down the closing stretch, and a difficult decision for John Mara at the end of the year.
Matt, let me ask you this question about Dable, because I think really that's the greater question here as we go through this season. One is, of course, do they have a franchise quarterback in Dart? That's probably question A. But right alongside question A is question B here, and that is, is Brian Dable? I mean, let me just ask you flat out. I look at Kevin O'Connell and I say, that guy's a quarterback whisperer. I look at Kyle Shanahan and I say, man, that guy's, if he's not a quarterback whisperer, he knows how to put an offense on the field and how to get guys into an offense and work a system and do the right. I mean, the 49ers are 4-1. We could talk about that later, but that guy just, he has created a system that works. And it's just tried and true, and it works every single time. It doesn't matter who's under center. And you go from one guy to the other. I thought Mac Jones was dead. Mac Jones going to be one of the big free agent pickups of this year after what Kyle Shanahan has done with them in just a few weeks. I mean, it's crazy. So is Brian Dable a quarterback whisperer? I mean, we saw as an offensive coordinator how he seemed certainly to help the progress of Josh Allen, who was a raw talent when he came into the NFL. Now, he developed very quickly, but he was a raw talent in a lot of ways. Is he truly a quarterback whisperer, or is he just not a great coach?
I think he was in a great situation having Josh Allen to mold, right? Because you talked about how raw Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming, took a lot of chances, was a gunslinger, turned the ball over a lot. But you look at after he started to improve incrementally, and Brian Dable gets the job with the New York Giants. Since Joe Brady's arrival in Buffalo, it's just been this rocket ship trajectory for Josh Allen. And I hate to say this about any coach or certainly a guy who's facing as much pressure as Brian Dable is right now, but I'm starting to kind of get the sense, especially watching what Daniel Jones is doing with Shane Steichen in Indianapolis, when they couldn't stand the sight of each other, Daniel Jones and Brian Dable. I'm starting to wonder if Dable just wasn't a beneficiary of Josh Allen's natural progression of a quarterback, and it's Joe Brady and the continued development of Allen as a quarterback and as an individual that helped elevate him to that level. And Dable is just one of these guys who's in a great situation at a great time, because he did not get the most out of Daniel Jones when his arrival was supposed to be of the quarterback whisperer who is going to become Kevin McConnell, who's going to become Sean McVay, who's going to become Kyle Shanahan. That just hasn't been what Brian Dable is. And, I think that Jaxson Dart is his opportunity to recreate what he was able to do with Josh Allen early on and launch it from there. I just don't know that he's going to have the rope, the leeway, or the time to see enough to see it through.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, and I'm starting to doubt his talents as a quarterback developer. I know they're missing weapons. This offensive line, it's not been great. There's so many reasons.
Hasn't been great for 10 years. Hasn't been great for 15 years, the offensive line in New York.
You still have to, deliver the goods. I mean, come on. I look at that San Francisco roster, and I'm like, that's not that great a roster this year. I mean, I thought this was going to be the fall of the 49ers this year, despite having Shanahan in place. And the guy's done it again. He's doing it again. He's rebirthed Mac Jones. Brock Purdy will be fine when he gets back in there. Like, it's just... It's cuckoo. Good coaching can overcome a lot of times lack of talent. And you can't always just say they don't have this, they don't have that. At some point, the coach has to be able to coach it up. We say it all the time, that term, coach it up. I don't know if Brian Dable can coach it up in New York. I'm not sure.
I wonder if Brian Dable is not closer to a Mike McDaniel, where if adversity strikes and they lose to the offense completely loses its rhythm and they don't know how to contend, they can't compete, than he is to a Kyle Shanahan or a Sean McVay, who you plug a Baker Mayfield in for a game in Los Angeles, or you plug in a Mac Jones in a game in San Francisco, and the wheels keep turning. If in Minnesota, Carson Wentz has to step in for J.J. McCarthy, and you're still able to look reasonably competent, especially in big spots in a quarterback cocoon, that's just not Brian Dable. He doesn't have the track record to show that. And they just keep on coming back to right place, right time with Josh Allen, got him the Giants job, and it just hasn't worked out from there.
All right, look, we got a lot to get to. I want to get to this weekend's surprisers, Matt, the standouts. We got to get to those games and those people in particular. I'll throw up a few graphics. Is this guy in trouble? The hot seat is back again. We'll talk about hot seat stuff. And much, much more. For those of you jumping in the room, again, you can jump into the comments. If you put anything up there in terms of a question or a comment that's worthy, I will pop it on the screen, so you can do that now. We're just going to take 30 seconds and learn a little bit more about today's sponsor, our friends at Box Drop Syracuse. Be right back. Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com. All right, it's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like our video, hit the thumbs up, and also subscribe, please. We'd love for you to be a subscriber, and we are giving away a brand new $400 golf club, courtesy of our friends at Play It Again Sports. for if you get in before we hit our 500th subscriber. We've only been on the air as a digital product for less than 3 months, so we're coming up on our 3-month anniversary. I want to thank all of you who have jumped in and are subscribers already. We do all kinds of content, Jets, Giants, and Bills in particular. We're kind of like a New York football peek at life. We also cover Syracuse football and basketball, as well as both Paul and I are located in central New York. You don't see Paul next to me. That's Matt Lombardo. He's our NFL insider. You see his info right there, nfl.substack.com. Matt, why don't you plug your stuff for a minute, and then we'll get back and talk about some of these surprisers from this past weekend.
Hey, Jim, this has been a lot of fun, and appreciate you having me on. I write a Substack over at Between the Hash Marks. It's become one of the fastest growing and best-selling publications across the entire Substack platform. That's Matt Lombardo, NFL.substack.com. Each week on Monday, we have 4 Downs, which is the all-encompassing deep dive column into all of the action from the weekend. Spoke to a front office executive about Emeka Egbuka in Tampa Bay and why they're just beaming about their rookie wide receiver, as they should be. Also had a conversation about what's powering Bo Nix and the Broncos after a pretty stunning win on the road that could be a launch pad for Denver. That's what you can get each Monday. We have a podcast every Tuesday, and on Fridays, you can check in with your mailbag questions, and I'll ask them to executives, agents, current and former players around the league to get their perspective on the biggest storylines inside the league. That's kind of the elevator pitch. What do people inside the league feel about the biggest storylines each week? That's why you can come and subscribe at Between the Hash Marks. You can check me out on YouTube as well at Matt Lombardo 975. But I would love to see you check us out and see what we're building.
I would love to talk to you about these things, Matt. All right, I'm going to throw up some pictures on the screen. I think these are going to be pictures where people are going to be like, who is this? Okay, here's the first one, Matt. Who is this, and why am I talking about this player today? He plays for the Carolina Panthers. He used to play in this jersey right here. That looks, or is that a Panther jersey? I actually can't tell from the side.
That looks like one Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, that is Rico Dowdle.
That is a Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle went off, Matt. Oh my God,
wild,
nuts! Where did this come from? And Rico Dowdle now making statements off of this unbelievable game of, I can't wait to face the Cowboys. Are they coming up this week? They must be coming up either this week or next week on the Panthers schedule. Let's talk about Rico Dowdle's blowout performance for the Carolina Panthers. Wow.
Yeah, you look at the Panthers, and they're kind of like the Jets, still trying to find their way at quarterback, still trying to figure out what exactly Bryce Young is. And as he goes out 19 of 30, 198, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, Fortsworth getting benched at one point during this game, they decide, hey, we're just going to double down on the running game. We're going to hand it off to Rico Dowdle, average 9 yards per carry. Now, if you hear somebody averaging 9 yards per carry, you might think that he touched the ball 10, 11 times. 23 carries, 206 yards and a touchdown became the focal point of that Panthers offense. And they needed every yard of it as the Dolphins put the fear of God in them, 27-24. Just a bust-out performance for Rico Dowdle. He has a chance at revenge against his former team coming up in a couple of weeks here.
It's next week. I just looked at this schedule. It's their next game, and it's in Carolina. So they will get the Cowboys in Carolina next week. Rico Dowdle with another chance to show the Cowboys that they never should have let him go. By the way, he played very well for the Cowboys, so I'm not sure why the Cowboys let him go. I think I wonder if the Denver Broncos are feeling the same thing about Javonte Williams, who came to Dallas, and it looks like a remade guy, catching it out of the backfield, running all over the place. So there have been some surprise people, to say the least, in the NFL. All right, here's one, Matt, and this one's not going to be pleasant. We're not going to like this very much. But this guy, do you know who that is on the Arizona Cardinals?
Is that Mr. Drop the Ball at
the
half-yard line going in?
That is Amari DiMarcado. Oh, Amari, for all fantasy lovers, for the world of Arizona, for anyone in the world of football. He is headline A today on all the talk shows, Matt. Oh, goodness, my goodness.
Beyond the talk shows, taking my daughter to the bus stop this morning, me and the other bus stop dads, we had a reenactment with the football to teach our kids to race through the goal line to the letters, the line on the sidewalk where the grass begins to grow. The ball has to cross the plane. Every year, one or two times a year, this happens, Lerch, and I can't figure out how it isn't drilled into players not to do that, not to drop the ball early. That really sparked everything. DeMarco's fumble sparked everything for the Titans in that fourth quarter, a frenetic comeback. I wound up naming Cam Ward the rookie of the week in the column. Spoke with Chris Sanders, former Titans quarterback. He told me, quote, he showed a lot yesterday, showed poise, command, confidence. He saw a bit of Steve McNair in him in that game. None of that happens without DeMarcado fumbling it and sparking the Titans comeback, but just a mess. Lerch, the Cardinals are not a serious franchise. We need to stop thinking about Kyler Murray taking the next step. We need to stop thinking about Marvin Harrison as this top 5 receiver in the NFL. We have to stop caring about what they did in free agency, bolstering that defense. When you have what happened yesterday happen, you're not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, getting a comment here from one of our buddies, Al, who says, how the heck do professional football players still drop the ball at the goal line? Should be high fines involved for those dumb enough to do it. Should we fine these guys, Matt? My goodness.
Cut them today. Cut them today.
Oh, my goodness. That was unbelievable. And that's not, I mean, let's take that story a little bit further, because first of all, the Dowdle thing would have sealed the game for Arizona. This happens in the fourth quarter, folks. And if you haven't seen it, it's been on every show this morning. Just turn on the TV, put on one of the 24-hour, and you're going to see it within 5 minutes because everybody is airing it. He scampers. It was a 72-yard touchdown run, or it was about to be. He gets a player that's pursuing right on his tail. I don't know why he was slowed down a little at the 5-yard line, which you never do either. All right. You run through the end, through the goal line, then you slow down. And the guy was reaching for the ball, but he wouldn't have gotten it before he crossed the plane. But instead, DeMarcado just pulled the ball away from his body and dropped it just as he was at about the 1-inch line. I mean, it was really hard looking at the replay initially to even see whether he got it before he dropped it or not. But it was just one of those horrible, sloppy things. And they did review it, and because it's a scoring play, and it got reversed, and now it rolled out of the end zone. So no touchdown. Okay. Other team gets the ball. It's a touchback. They get it out at the 20. And then, of course, they drove down the field and scored. But that wasn't the only thing in that game. Oh, my goodness. That game had multiple things. It was started by DeMarcado, but the Titans were inept, and Ward and that offense couldn't do anything the whole game. Okay. And then they have this other play. Now, listen to this one. This is later in the fourth quarter. Safety Dadrian Taylor Demerson. I'm sorry if I'm not saying his name right. If you know his name, Matt, correct me. Intercepts a pass, from Cam Ward that was deflected by Arizona linebacker Mac Wilson. But Taylor Demerson fumbles as he's going to the ground. The ball ricochets off cornerback Catrell Clark's foot and then gets recovered in the end zone by Tennessee wide receiver Tyler Lockett for a touchdown, which pulled the Titans within 21-19, Matt. That's just one of two plays I'm going to mention. Let's pick it up there. I mean, did you see that play? I was listening on the radio. Now, I was on my way back from the Meadowlands to Syracuse, okay? And I have Sirius XM where I get all the NFL games. So I had Red Zone on my phone, and I had that up in the cradle. But, Red Zone, you really want to be watching it because they're bouncing from game to game. And sometimes you're like, where did they just go? What's going on? And I don't want to be looking at the screen while I'm driving. I want to drive off the road, man. So I decide, you know what? Let me turn off Red Zone because I'm getting a little too distracted by the screen. I'm going to end up doing something, getting hurt or something in the car. So let me turn off Red Zone. But I've got, all the games on my Sirius XM app, so I can just go into any game. So I put the 5 games that were going on, in the 4 o'clock window up as I'm driving back. And I'm just looking at what the scores are and who has the ball. I figure I could get in on a little fantasy stuff or something here. And I pop into this Arizona game, maybe not the most scintillating game. You got a team that hasn't even won a game trying to get there first, and they're getting blown out. And I just happened to come in right before the DeMarcado thing. And then I couldn't leave the game. It was so captivating. This crazy stuff kept happening. I'm listening to other people describe it. I'm trying to imagine it in my own mind's eye. And I'm just like, this is unbelievable. The Titans might win this game. And then sure enough, they did. Oh my God, man. Unbelievable.
Total chaos. And you got to take your hat off to Cam Ward for capitalizing on it and not, playing like a rookie who's making all kinds of mistakes. 165 yards in the fourth quarter, just tore it up, really seems to be building his chemistry with Calvin Ridley. And if you're the Cardinals, you just have to be sick about coughing up that game, especially the way you did when it was over. And you just had a couple of boneheaded mistakes. Terrible plays didn't go your way. And again, I just have a hard time buying into Arizona when you're coughing up games the way they did yesterday.
And the last thing they did, I don't know if you caught this, because again, I was captivated by the game. So I was in on every play in that fourth quarter. Arizona has the ball. Okay. They're in a position to potentially run out the clock and not even give it back to Carolina, and they can just end the game. And even though, some bad things have happened here, they still have the lead and they're still going to win the game. They get a 3rd and 8. Okay, with a chance. This is a little before the 2-minute warning. Okay, to basically a first down, and the game gets iced because they wouldn't have enough timeouts. They could get the clock down to next to nothing, maybe even just kneel it out after the 2-minute warning. So they're in a position where a singular first down wins the game. Okay, ices the game, and Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, says on 3rd and 8, I'll just hand it off. Doesn't trust Kyler Murray. Doesn't trust Marvin Harrison Jr. Doesn't trust everything that's been working this whole game, even all the dysfunction. They had stuff that was working the whole game. They were leading this game comfortably going into the 4th quarter. They don't trust any of that. No, they're going to trust a running back to try to get 8 yards on a 3rd down play. Of course, he doesn't get it. He gets like a yard. Okay. They punt it away, and then that leads to I blame Jonathan Gannon just as much as I blame DeMarcado for dropping that ball. Come on. What are you letting your team down that way for? You're trying to win football games. Go win the game. Don't give it back to the other team and hope your defense holds up, which, by the way, didn't happen, of course. Matt, your comments on that?
Are you trusting Kyler Murray? I mean, really, because Kyler Murray has not shown anything to date, and especially this year.
He's my quarterback. I have to trust him, Matt. I have to if I'm Gannon.
I think that goes to show you that they don't, right? I think that goes to show you that they think they're playing with one hand tied behind their back at the quarterback position. Just watching the Thursday night game last week, it just seemed like Marvin Harrison doesn't seem to trust Kyler Murray either. It seems like he was disinterested for 3 quarters till you had that touchdown, late in the game to pull Arizona back. It seems like some of so similar things were happening yesterday where they just can't seem to get on the same page with quarterback and weapons, and this is what happens as a result.
Okay, all right. I'm done with that game. My goodness, that was unbelievable listening to that on the radio, though. I'm thinking this is one of the most uninteresting things I could possibly do is pick this game out of these 5 games, and I end up picking that game, and then all that stuff starts happening. I'm like, thank God I'm listening to this. This is incredible. I am witnessing history here, Even the play-by-play guys didn't think that DeMarcado dropped it before the end zone, but then they started looking at the replays like, it's really close. And I'm imagining it like, what did this idiot do? What was going on in his head? He hadn't. And DeMarcado, he was playing third fiddle to the other 2 running backs in this game. A lot of people didn't know what was going to be that running back situation, especially those in fantasy were trying to figure that thing out. And, nobody had to figure it out. But DeMarcado gets his chance in the 4th quarter, and that's what he does with it. Oh,
fumbles it away.
Oh, it's just brutal. All right, another guy I want to pop up on here real quick. This guy back in the fold and getting it done for his team. Jaden Daniels getting the Commanders back on the winning track. How good is this young man?
Oh, he's special. He's truly special. I said it last year that, if you had a redraft today, I'm not sure that he isn't the 2nd or 3rd pick of quarterbacks across the NFL after Patrick Mahomes and maybe Josh Allen. Because last year you talk about all of the comeback wins. I believe it's 4 4th-quarter comebacks a year ago. And it was a lot of like, hey, they caught some fluky moments. They made some big plays in big spots. Yesterday was about the maturation of a quarterback and a team. I wrote about it in the column. When you can fall behind 10-0 to that team on the road and your defense makes a big play, forcing a fumble, and Daniels can go out without Terry McLaurin, without Noah Brown. You lean on the rookie Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who had his breakout performance, 156 yards, I believe, and 2 scores. But Daniels was the steadying force. And he just looked like a quarterback who elevated from being, the lightning in a bottle, young kid trying to figure it out very quickly, to being the franchise quarterback that you can lean on, that you can weather the storm, who can guide those comebacks, can be the steadying presence. I'm so impressed by Jaden Daniels. And I think that yesterday was a testament not only to him as a quarterback, but the type of competitive culture they're building with Dan Quinn and that defense and a complementary brand of football. You saw it yesterday. A turnover stops the bleeding, and the offense does it from there, shorthanded without 2 of their most important weapons.
All right, look, this is a tough one. I mean, I hate to even put his picture up here, but we have to talk about it. John Harbaugh. Okay, so this team is devastated by injuries. You and I both thought this team had the fiber of Super Bowl contender this year. I mean, you had them going there. I picked them
to win it.
Yeah,
I picked them to win the Super Bowl over the Commanders.
Certainly in my consideration for getting there and possibly even winning it. Look, they've been devastated by injuries, but even though I know John Harbaugh is a really good coach and he has coached this franchise to a lot of wins over a lot of years, is there a time where even a great coach is just not working anymore in a particular situation and it's time to go? It's just, the message isn't being received. It isn't coming through. And are you seeing some of that with John Harbaugh, despite all the injuries? We could talk about the injuries, but despite the injuries, do you see some staleness in the way that the Ravens approach football under John Harbaugh? That's really what my question is, Matt.
I see people saying this today, and I'm not sure if they watched the same game that I watched. I mean, I have the 3 TVs here in the command center. One is usually dedicated to red zone. I have 2 games on that I focus on in each window, and it was Texans Ravens. I look, the guys who were out. You're talking about Roquan Smith. You're talking about Chidobe Awuzie. You're talking about Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey. You already had Adisa Isaac and Nandi Madubuke out. You lost Ronnie Stanley. He was inactive yesterday. You don't have Lamar Jackson. What were people expecting? Because, I wrote about it in the column. That was a defense comprised of Inner Harbor dock workers and tour guides from the National Aquarium. It just wasn't the same roster that they went into the season with, right? I mean, you're talking about replacement level defensive players filling in for a Pro Bowl team. Right. And I don't care who you are. When you're without the MVP quarterback, when you're without 4 or 5 Pro Bowl, all pro caliber defenders, I'm not sure what you expect John Harbaugh to do. And I'm not going to sit here and defend John Harbaugh, but I think he's a really good coach. But I don't know what you expect when you have that many injuries this early in the season. And we can talk about Derrick Henry and not going to him and the fact that he ran for 6 yards on 5 carries in the first quarter when it was still relatively not out of hand. But since week 1, Derrick Henry's averaging 3.2 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. Like, this isn't the same running back. It's not the same player. And they never had the chance to run it yesterday, even before it got out of hand. I just look at the Ravens situation being one where the injury bug took its toll. They lived a charmed existence last year, not a lot of big injuries. They stayed relatively healthy. They're paying the piper this year. And it's one of those things where you kind of just got to take your medicine, grin your teeth, and get through it, because I don't know how it gets better until you get some of these guys back, if they get them back at all.
All right. Fair enough. It's a devastating situation. I just wonder, has it just kind of played out with Harbaugh in Baltimore? But maybe this year isn't a fair year to really look at that, because they're just so beat up. Yeah, I think he's a terrific coach. I've always when I think of making a pick against the Ravens, I'm thinking about what's John Harbaugh going to do to this team and how's he going to manipulate it. Just like I always had to consider that when Belichick was coaching the Patriots. I was just always like, all right, but Belichick has a way of, doing things to people that makes them uncomfortable, especially those defensive schemes and the things that they throw out there. So it's just a question whether there's any validity to it or not. I don't know, Matt. I kind of probably
You're not the only one asking it today.
Yeah,
I mean, look, it's all up and down my social media feed. But watching that game yesterday and looking at the players that were out, I just don't know what people were expecting. Look, if this was the same Ravens team that went on the field in week 1 and they were playing like this, then I think that you start to have those conversations. But I think that they're so undermanned right now that they don't have the horses to contend, rather than anything that the coach is doing from a scheme standpoint or a motivation perspective.
All right. Last topic I want to talk about with you today, Matt, is the undefeated's no longer undefeated. 2 of them that I want to talk about. We got to talk about the Bills. Obviously, that's right here in our wheelhouse here in Central New York, and one of the primary teams we cover. So the Bills go down to a revenge game for Stephon Diggs. Ooh, did he show up for this one? Big time. And Drake May, again, efficient when he needed to be, making clutch plays when he needed to. He's really had a terrific second season here with the Patriots. It does seem like Mike Vrabel is helping him, and there are some things that are really going well for New England there. And then also, obviously, the Eagles going down. And by the way, both of those teams go down in their own buildings. So this was not a road loss, which can happen to anybody in the NFL. This is losing in your house. But both of these teams do go down. So pick your poison on it, Matt. Let's talk about those 2 games, and in particular, those 2 teams.
Yeah, I think we look at Drake May, right? And I think that when you look at the year that he's having, going into Sunday, this is the first 4 weeks, he's just the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to have a 135 passer rating or higher with a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in multiple games through the course of a season. Now, they didn't need Drake May to throw a touchdown last night because they consistently moved the chains with Stephon Diggs. He's has a 75% completion percentage and thrown for at least 2 touchdowns in each of the last 3 games going into Sunday night. The last person to do that was Tom Brady. So
Mhm.
we look at the year that Drake May is putting together. He's very quietly, if the Patriots keep this up and they start to kind of make some real noise in the AFC East, we're going to have to start having the conversation about Drake May being an MVP candidate. That's just the level of play that he's quietly executing at right now. And I thought last night, other than maybe getting away from the running game and James Cook early on, I'm not so sure what I would have done differently if I'm Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. They just ran into a buzzsaw of a defense that smelled some blood in the water, went into that game looking to make a statement. They had some timely turnovers off of Josh Allen, and they turned Drake May loose. They kind of put on an exhibition of what Drake May is in his second year. And he's a pretty damn good quarterback when you build an offensive line in front of him, as they've done through the draft this year. And you get him some weapons like Stephon Diggs and two really good running backs with Ramondre Stevenson and Trevion Henderson, that the Patriots
Yep.
now might be one of those teams that are flying just underneath the radar. But after Sunday night, maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe in the AFC East, this becomes a legitimate race now between the Patriots and the Bills. But if I'm waking up in Buffalo today, I'm not sure I'm thinking all that differently about the Bills after last night than I was before yesterday's game kicked off. That they still have the third leading rusher in James Cook. They still have the reigning MVP, who, outside of a couple turnovers, playing really, really well. You just have to figure out that defense to get it playing consistently. They're leaning on some young players. They're without Ed Oliver, which changes the calculus significantly. But if they get healthy, I'm not worried about the Bills being anything other than a top 3 seed in the AFC.
All right, fair enough. I agree. And anything on the Eagles going down to Denver? I mean, Denver's another good team. The Eagles have been showing some cracks to me, Matt, in recent weeks, just in terms of togetherness and whether this team is really a unit or not. And we're hearing the grumblings about Jalen Hurts and his throwing abilities, which we know have always kind of been a question for Hurts, but he seems to overcome it no matter what. Give me your thoughts on what's going on in Philadelphia. I mean, come on, they're 4-1. What's really going on in Philadelphia? But there are some folks out there that think a loss or two could really kind of crack the spine of this Eagles team and really put them in some peril. I don't know that they're in peril, but there do seem to be some cracks here.
Yeah, I think that they're going through an identity crisis right now, right? I think that when you have A.J. Brown quoting Jesus in a tweet after a win where he wasn't targeted until the fourth quarter last week, and then you make the effort to get him involved on the second play of the game, you make a concerted effort to get Devonta Smith involved after reporting that he was grumbling about targets throughout the course of the week as well. And you kind of forget that Saquon Barkley exists. Lerch, they were winning that game in the fourth quarter, and Saquon Barkley finished the game with 6 carries for 30 yards. They just got away from the running game. And we talk about the issues that the Ravens are having running the football. That if you take week 1 off the table for Derrick Henry, he's averaging 3.2 yards per carry. Saquon Barkley on the year is averaging 3.2 yards per carry through the first 5 weeks of the season. It's not the same Saquon Barkley. And watching that game, the Broncos really jammed the box, kind of daring the Eagles to throw over them, which they tried to do, which they did early with some success. But eventually you have to find a way to spring Saquon Barkley in space. And the reason Saquon Barkley had a lot of hollow numbers in New York was that Brian Dable and Pat Shurmur before him and Joe Judge, it was all about running him up the middle. It was all about jamming him into the line of scrimmage when you should be trying to work him off tackle. You should be trying to work some swing passes, which the Eagles did with a 47-yard touchdown yesterday, but just not enough. And I think that not knowing what their plan is offensively from week to week, series to series, play to play is creating major issues for that offense. And fortunately for them, they go up to the Giants, who got lit up by the Saints offense yesterday. I think they have an opportunity to get right on Thursday night at MetLife, but there are some real issues as far as feeding your stars, balance, and consistently offensively that I don't know that in an NFC where the Buccaneers look like they're one of the best teams in football with one of the most consistent quarterbacks, where the Lions are playing some of the most dominant defense in the sport with that explosive offense. I don't know that the Eagles trying to figure it out is going to get past those type of teams late in the year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Boy, oh boy. Okay, it's been an interesting weekend, and we still got a Monday night game that could be interesting. Kansas City, who seems to have kind of found itself last week against the Jacksonville team that is up and down. I've kind of liked them throughout this year. The game is in Jacksonville, so it'll be in those sunny climes of Florida, so it could be a hot one, dare I say, on Monday Night Football. And I don't know where you got on this one on the picks, Matt. I need this one badly. I am having another struggle bus of a week in picks, so I need Jacksonville. I'm not sure what I was doing when I picked Jacksonville. I hope I was right about that, but you might as well flip a coin these days. I haven't been right about much. I mean, I was looking at the sheet this week trying to see what I was right about. All right, I was right about Houston beating Baltimore. I just knew that Baltimore was just too downtrodden, and these injuries are just too devastating, and Houston needed it badly, and I got that very, very emphatically. I felt really good about Washington going into L.A., even though the Chargers just lost to the Giants, and stealing one, and they did. And I knew that Detroit would blow out Cincinnati. Other than that, I didn't know much. I did get lucky on the New England game. I thought they'd cover the 8. I wasn't so sure they were going to win the game in Buffalo, but they did. But I didn't get anything else right. So, I mean, I need Jacksonville tonight just for respectability. Go ahead.
To make you feel a little bit better, at the end of my podcast every week with Mike Tanier on Tuesdays, we do a circle it game. What's the game you're looking forward to in the week ahead? Chiefs Jaguars was my circle game going into the week. I just think this is a barometer and a litmus test for the Jaguars and how seriously we should take them, whether or not they can contend with the Colts, who are just running away with that division right now. But can they lean into Travis Etienne, who entered the weekend as the 3rd leading rusher in the NFL? Can they control the tempo? Can they keep the suddenly explosive passing game with Xavier Worthy maybe coming back and Jaquan Thornton showing out? And, you look at what they have, Rashee Rice coming down the pike in a couple weeks. You look at what the Chiefs are doing offensively. Can the Jaguars defense hold up? Can they run the ball effectively, control the tempo, and ground and pound? I'm excited to see it. If the Chiefs win this game, then I think we have to really, revisit the fact that the Chiefs are here to stay and stop worrying about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. But tonight, I think, is a litmus test for Jacksonville. I think it's going to be a really good game. I picked the Jaguars as well. Good. It should be a lot of fun to watch and see how it plays out.
All right, we're on the same side of this one. I don't know. I do think there's something wrong with the Chiefs, but you're right. I think if they win tonight, especially if they win convincingly, it's like, what were we worried about? It's the same. I mean, they still have Patrick Mahomes, and that guy is arguably the best in the biz. I mean, maybe Allen's at the moment ascended. His star's risen a little higher because of the team he has around him. But man, I would not want to face that guy on a series, on a final drive, on anything that mattered, because he finds a way to make things happen. So we'll see if he can find a way on the road tonight in Jacksonville to get the job done. For any of you tuning in late, by the way, because I saw some people jump into the room late, we did go into detail about John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. We talked about the Giants. We talked about the Jets and the big party down at the Meadowlands. So, of course, always in our live broadcast, these are archived right on our YouTube channel within a few minutes of when we close out. So you can always go back and catch up on anything that you missed. It's always a lot of fun, our live shows, which we're doing right now. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then also Wednesday nights. For those of you that are Survivor fans, Paul and I and Brett LaBelle and family, all right, jump in and do a Survivor post-game show as we are in season 49 of Survivor. So I don't know if you know about that, Matt. Are you a Survivor guy at all?
We're more of a Big Brother family in this household. Okay. So my wife is all in on Big Brother. So it has become appointment television in our house over the last decade or so. Okay. So maybe next year we'll launch a Big Brother post game here on the network, and we're doing Survivor. Break it all down.
I have done this for years on the radio, and now we've turned it into a post game live stream situation here on our YouTube channels. So you can tune in for that on Wednesday nights, and we bring Survivor insiders into it. It's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, last week, Brett LaBelle was at a bar in Boston where people that were on the current season were in the bar celebrating and hanging out with Survivor people. They have all these Survivor reunions and these Survivor parties, and Brett's a big part of that scene, which makes him awesome for us. He's really, really plugged in, and so he was on location at a Boston bar. He came out of the bar on the street. The whole thing was a hoot, so you can go watch it in our live streams if you want. It's archived just as this show will be in just a couple of minutes, but it's a blast, and we love talking Survivor, and we'll be back on the beam again this coming Wednesday night, right after the show ends. Show ends at 9:30. By about 9:40, 9:45, the latest, we're on, and we'll do about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of Survivor post game. So if you want to know about all the
tremendous,
who we think and everything, so on and so forth. And we did a Survivor fantasy draft, so we all are rooting for certain players. So that gets into the conversation as well, which is a lot of fun. Matt, man, thanks so much for filling in for Boy Green today. I appreciate you on such short notice jumping in. He's traveling back from New York. For many of you that missed that, Paul will be back on the show with me live again on Friday, and of course our fantasy segment with Joe Bartle on Wednesday, I should say, and then our fantasy segment on Friday with Joe Bartle from RotoWire. We always do the fantasy breakdown as well. It's been a very competitive week. I got a battle tonight. I need Mahomes-worthy to just do what they normally do tonight, Matt, and I'll knock off the only 4-0 team in our league, and I will take over first place on points if I beat them.
Tremendous.
But it's like right on the edge. They're going to have to play well, or I'm going to go down, man. And I had 3 guys on bye this week, and I might pull it out. And they were my 3 best guys: Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and who's the other player? It's Adunze, Rome Odunze. 3 of my best players on bye, and I'm still competing with the only undefeated team in the league. We'll see if we can get it done. I saw Big Al, actually Al Swerodowski, who's in our comments right now, is that player. So he's watching me today like a hawk, and wondering if he's going to pull it out tonight or not. It all comes down to my boy Patrick Mahomes. I talked about it. You want one guy? You take that guy. I'm taking that guy tonight. He's got to get it done for me.
I hope you get it. We had a 1 versus 2 battle in my dynasty league. I was bitten by the bye week. Caleb Williams down, Aaron Rodgers down, Tucker Kraft down, Drake London down. Down goes my squad. We stay in second place.
Yeah, and I thought for sure this is a loss because he had nobody on bye, and I have arguably 3 of my best players, maybe my 3 best players, at least in terms of performance this year. And somehow I'm in a position to pull it out. I'm like, how did this happen? My God, I got performances that I didn't expect. Kyron Williams, who's another one of my running backs, had a big week, stepped up in Thursday Night Football. It just all kind of came together. But it's still, even with it all coming together, I still need these 2 guys who normally are pretty good performers to deliver for me tonight in Monday Night Football. So I'll have a little extra incentive, dare I say, even though I picked Jacksonville. Like, let's get a lead, Jacksonville. Then I want that Kansas City team just chucking it, baby. Get Mahomes just chucking it. Do away with the running game. Don't need to run the football. Just throw the football tonight. That's what I want to see in Monday Night Football. All right. Anyway, thanks to our folks at Box Drop. Thanks again, Matt Lombardo, for stepping in for Boy Green. We appreciate it. We'll see you on Friday for our NFL picks again. All right. There he is, Matt Lombardo. We'll see you, folks. Enjoy. And again, we'll be back live on Wednesday. Take care.